Let's drink beer. It makes my mind clear. It takes me away from here. Let's drink beer. And let's drink beer. Pump it up, lift it up, drink it up.
So as we sit around drinking beer in Hawaii, a lot of times you'll find on the table some chili pepper water. It's homemade. You never share your secret, but you share it with your friends. Cheers.
Cheers. This makes it official right here, guys. Look me in the eye. 7 years bad sex if you don't look in the eye, yeah.
Let's crack one open.
Oh, that's good. You make that?
Nope. The boys made it.
Give them a shout out. Which boys?
Mark Shirai, guys down at Roost Chris Steakhouse, making a chili pepper water, keeping our
good.
palates rolling.
I'm a chili pepper water connoisseur, by the way.
Are you?
I try them all. Like I have like 6 bottles in my
I do too.
fridge right now.
I prefer not to be store-bought. I like to find the guys' recipes that they have around. That's always the best.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me today.
Yeah.
What are we drinking?
Okay, we're cracking open a Zwickel beer. So this is a German beer. Zwickel beer is basically an unfiltered Pilsner. So cheers.
Cheers.
If you notice, they call it a hazy Pilsner. That's basically for the American audience. Most Pilsners are going to be crystal clear, but on this one, because it's unfiltered, unpasteurized.
I like the nose on. Do you say nose when you drink beer?
Yeah, you can.
Nose, aroma.
Yeah.
Same thing.
It's just refreshing.
Super refreshing, super light, super clean. You know, Germans, they know how to make beer. I mean, and they don't mess around when they're making these, and it's just fantastic.
What's the first beer you drank? What were you? How old were you?
Probably my dad let me take sips of his like Miller Lite or Olympia or something like that.
Well, when was the first time you got drunk off a beer?
Red Dog in high school.
Red Dog. What was yours?
They've been making Red Dog?
Same. I'm pretty sure it's probably a Miller Lite out of my dad's can.
Yeah.
You know, when you're maybe too young to start.
Yeah. How about your first one?
Same, sipping a dad's beer, probably like a Labatt Blue or something. One of those Canadian beers that my dad drank.
Mine was, I was 16 years old and I had Baby Lowenbrau. Remember Baby Lowenbrau? Yeah. It was in a smaller bottle with foil on it. But I also had a Mickey's Wide Mouth. I don't know how come I had 2, but I had like 4 of those Lowenbrau and 1 Mickey's and I was done. It was Ala Moana Beach Park and my friend just finished doing his bug. You know how the bugs used to be in Hawaii, like really nice. And I was in the back seat and I kept hitting him. I said, you gotta let me out, you gotta let me out. And he's like, stay in the back. I said, you gotta let me out. And I threw up all over his back. Oh. That was my first memory of beer. So I didn't drink it for like a couple years.
At least you had some Lowenbrau. That sounds great.
Do they still make it?
Yeah, you just can't get it in the U.S. anymore. They stopped importing it. So you have to go to Europe. I think it's only in Germany now.
How about a Mickey's Wide Mouth?
Oh yeah, they're still around.
They're around.
Oh, yeah.
The same bottle?
The little grenade bottles.
Yeah.
I'm sure they still
Grenades and the big one.
the 40s,
Yeah.
right?
So popular back in the day here. I don't know why.
Every now and then, some of the guys at work, you know, we'll grab some for after, and it's just like your nostalgia drinking. Like, wow, I haven't done this in 20 years. So we just go get some grenades.
Did you guys have a spot where you drank beer like in high school or out of
Oh,
high
yeah.
school? Yeah, where was your spot?
Lanai High.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Lanai High wasn't like it is now. Yeah. You know, there was places you could pull off and you said, as long as you didn't make noise, you're fine. So.
Yeah.
But a couple Portuguese kids, after a while, we had to move because we made noise.
How about your country guys?
Haleiwa Harbor.
Yeah. All my uncles drank there. The ice house.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
The ice house is where all the fishermen got their blocks of ice. How about you?
I mean, I grew up in Michigan, so it was cold, so we were inside.
Someone's basement, right?
Was there a lot of basement drinking?
Yeah, basements inside. You know,
Or any beach park you could find, right? Or you could find a spot at the beach park.
What was your spot?
Manele Bay. Yeah, on Lanai. It's like, you did everything there though. You know, that's like the famous, that was our fun factory. I learned how to drink, smoke, have sex, surf, body surf, dive, everything was there.
Do you think kids could still do that now there?
No.
Like, no way, right?
No.
Yeah, it's like there's no way.
And it's all protected.
Yeah.
But I mean, people still drink there.
Yeah. You
know, but it's not like back in the day. I mean, even here, right, on this island, it's not. I don't think kids even do that anymore, do they?
Right? Sandy Beach.
They're like this all day with that age now.
As long as they get reception at Sandy's, they're fine. They're on the sand doing it, drinking beer.
Except they're posting their evidence, incriminating themselves.
So where can you get this one?
We carry this at Village. There's probably a few other spots on the island that have it, and it comes in pretty regularly now. We're pretty stoked on that. Just being able to have the wider variety of beers, like even 5 years ago, there was probably half the availability that you find now.
How many SKUs do you have?
Anywhere 500 to 700. Wow. And we could have more. We just don't have space.
Do you know all of them?
I know most of them, yeah. I haven't tried all of them, but I mean, that's the beauty of having staff and having other people around that, have different flavor profiles than yours and finding out, like, what did you think? Because not everybody likes the same thing, and that's totally acceptable, right?
Nice. So we'll get into some more flavor profiles in a second. We're going to give you a chance to go get your own chili pepper water. Come back and join us. We're going to drink some more. We got snacks. We'll see you in 2.
Bringing you what matters. Viewers can receive the Star Advertiser digital full access subscription for just $9.95 per month. Go to staradvertiser.com and click on subscribe. Use the code AHITHING.
Right on. Thanks for coming back. We're going to crack another one. We're going to stick with the German beers for right now, kind of keep on that theme. So we're going to open up the Schönrammer Gold. It's another fantastic German style beer. It's actually little higher in alcohol than normal. It's like 6%, which is kind of high for German beers.
Why did you choose German for me?
Because they're delicious. I wanted to give you something amazing. I gotta take care of you.
Thank you. All right. I thought maybe there's a theme or something.
No. A lot of times, people, these might like, oh, these are imports. They're fancy looking, but they're just really clean, easy, approachable beers. And
I like this one too.
Yeah, that's like the great thing. A lot of these beers, they're perfectly made for the climate and the weather and cruising around and drinking, but they're so full of flavor. Yeah. But you don't have to think too much about them, right? Like
I'm not a heavy guy. That's why.
Yeah.
This is like, I like this. This is good.
It's got so much flavor, but it's super light. It's a perfect one. I mean, for sitting around doing this and eating snacks, it's one of those things where you're just gonna keep eating more. You're gonna keep drinking more.
I wonder if this is just a Hawaii thing.
Speaking of eating more.
Right? You think this is a Hawaii thing? Chili pepper water is obviously.
That is.
Yeah.
I think the snacking and drinking, it's from any like good drinking culture. Like you've been in like Southeast Asia and Vietnam and stuff. That you eat and drink, and it's that communal thing, right? Like you sit around and talk story. I mean, even in the pubs, like if you're in England and in the pubs, there's always like something to snack on, and the whole idea of going there is to communicate with other people, right?
Yeah. That's what I always, when you look and you see, not just like movies, but anything, you go to bars on the mainland, that's the old style, where's the nuts on the table? I know it's just you and the random guy next to you. And whatever they had out, there's just the snacks and just talking, something to throw in your mouth. So.
Does anybody know how many beers there are now in the world? Is there an estimated ballpark number?
More than I could count.
I couldn't even begin.
Right.
Especially in the U.S. I mean, I think there's close to 9,000 breweries now in the U.S. And if they're like any of our local breweries that are constantly cranking out new beers, it's just nonstop. I mean, we see like our friends from Hanakoa or Beer Lab were here, and they were talking about, they're doing 50, 60, 70 different beers, maybe more a year. Times that by 9,000, and that's just the U.S.
What's your favorite?
I like light styles, so that's why I've brought some of the German styles, just because it's something I love. I also love Belgian styles. Yeah. They're just drinkable.
How about you, Daniel?
I go a lot with Belgian. Belgian just, it hits the whole spectrum of whatever you're eating. I mean, Belgian can match, this dish or this dish, and they're on opposite sides.
What makes them different from American?
It's just the style. It's the yeast characteristics. They're meant to be yeast forward, so the yeast creates a lot of flavors. There's other beers, like when you get an IPA, the flavor profile is hop, right? So you don't want the yeast creating a lot of flavor. You want the hops creating a lot of the flavors. But on the Belgian styles, a lot of times it's that yeast characteristic, and they're dry. And another thing with the Belgian and German beers, they're normally dry, so you don't got a lot of residual on the back of your tongue. So that's also a food thing, right? Like, because you want to eat, you want to taste the food, you want to drink, you want to taste the beer, and then you kind of want them to mesh well together, but not
bury each other.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your favorite?
I mean, I tend to go towards whatever's in my glass.
You're easy.
Cheers to that.
Easy.
What do you drink? What if you have to buy a beer, what are you buying?
You know, I'm a wine guy, obviously, and I love whiskey, and I've been drinking a lot of tequila lately. And it's funny because I've been going to all these wineries lately, and all the winemakers drink beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is weird to me. Now I get it because it's a palate thing, and it kind of gives them a clean slate.
You work with enough chefs on all your dinners.
Yeah.
What do the chefs like to eat after?
They all drink beer. Yeah.
So my one favorite I would never is Hiroshi.
Yeah.
We'd cook some of the greatest dishes you could. And we'd be like, Hiroshi, let's go eat. What do you want to eat? And be like, grab me some chicken from Zippy's.
Yeah.
Swear to God, the guy would cook 300 dinners, highest classy possible, and he was thinking about a piece of fried chicken.
And they probably want
Love you, Hiroshi.
They probably want something light, and the beer is probably always gonna be light and refreshing because you don't want to think too much, right? You don't want to. You just want something that's gonna just
Yeah,
hit
it's
the
funny.
spot.
I'll eat like spam and rice or Vienna sausage and rice or even tuna and rice, you know. But I like Asahi. I really like, if I have to go and buy beer just for me, I love Japanese beer for some reason. And maybe it's because I always go to Japan.
Clean and dry, right?
Yeah.
But they're clean, dry, and they're like on point.
And I love with sushi. Like Asahi or Kirin with sushi is just my thing. I love it.
Nice and crisp, and it's just delicious.
Yeah, totally.
All right, well, let's hold that thought, and we're gonna come back, taste some more beers. See you in a few.
The Art of Beer is brought to you by Growler Hawaii. 100 taps of great beer and other beverages. Stop in for some drink, food, and fun. Growler Hawaii, located at 449 Kapahulu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Art of Beer. Next thing we're gonna crack is the Schneider Weiss Hopfenweiss.
Sticking to state of German.
Stick into the German.
Say that 5 times fast.
How did you guys meet each other?
How did we meet? Dave and I met a long time ago when you were
dark
running
alley.
the Feral Pig on Kauai, right?
Yeah.
I was writing a blog about Hawaii beer scene just for fun. So I got to know kind of everybody, and this was before I started the business, and sort of just everybody. I got to know everybody, and I think we met through the Bartenders Guild, right?
Yep.
So you two are bartenders, and you never were a bartender.
Nope.
You just sell.
I just
slang beer.
Yeah, I just sell stuff.
You're kind of a bartender.
No, I don't even pretend to be.
I like the nose on this. Am I just the only one? But I smell like fruit.
Yeah, and that's hops.
is
That's
that
hops, and it's also the yeast. So again, it's another German beer. This one's from Schneider Weiss. It's a small. They only brew wheat beers, and it's in Bavaria. It's about an hour north of Munich. So basically everything they brew has a heavy amount of wheat malt in it, which is going to give it that body and character that you pick up. But the wheat beers are all brewed with a very specific type of yeast, which again goes back to like flavor characteristics. And these ones are the yeast characteristics puts off a lot of banana, clove, and fruit characteristics. What's cool about this one is they actually end up dry hopping it, which is not traditional in Germany at all. It's more something they do at IPAs, right? And when you dry hop, it's to get all of those flavors out of the hops versus bitterness. But they use German hops, which are going to be a little bit more rounded on the flavor compounds. So it's a Weizenbock, that's 8.2%. It's pretty high.
It'll get you there.
Super smooth, delicious.
Have you guys been to Oktoberfest?
Haven't.
I have not.
It's bucket
It's on the
list.
list.
Let's go. I was supposed to go 2 years ago. I was going to bring like 20 people. I'm serious.
It's bucket list
I'm
for
putting
me.
together a tour. Let's all go.
It's bucket list.
Field trip.
You'll be able to get Laurenbrow when you go to Oktoberfest.
Yeah, I love it.
Because that's an official Oktoberfest beer.
Why do you think everyone in Hawaii drinks Heineken? Because I don't really like it, flavor-wise.
I've never been able to figure it out.
Do you guys like it?
No.
I mean, I can stand it. I've had enough of it in my life, but it's not my first choice.
Yep.
Do I drink it?
Yeah.
I don't.
Do you like it?
Not particularly.
Why is it? What do you think?
I think it hit Hawaii at a time when like it was one of the few imports, and it sort of had this class that it was more expensive than everything else. People started drinking it, and it just became a thing. Just like when you talk about your family drinking Coors Lights and Miller Lights.
Yeah,
it
maybe
just became a thing. That's what your uncles
nostalgic.
drank.
I think it's the same as like how Stella got so popular, right? It was an import beer that at some point in the progression of our beer culture in the U.S. got promoted and sort of felt like a
Domesticated.
really high-end beer. Like I remember going to visit my uncle and he was always drinking Stella, and it was like, oh, he's like, this is the best beer in the world, And at that time I thought it was this unique beer. It came in a fancy bottle with a chalice and all this stuff, and it was different. And I think Heineken was the same way. You showed up at a party with a 6-pack of Heineken.
Yeah.
You're like, ooh, fancy.
It's funny because about 7 years ago, I did a blind tasting test with some of my friends, and they're all wine drinkers, but they loved beer too. And I put Asahi, was it Bud Light. I had like 4 different beers, and one of them was a Heineken. Yeah. No one picked the Heineken. Yeah. And they're all Heineken drinkers when they bought beer. So it's funny.
I guess it's just not culture, but just like the crowd thing. It's like you reach in a cooler and it's Heineken's, and and it's green bottles all across the room. And I guess it's part of it. It's less about the beer and the company you're with.
Or the brand. Some people just get brand. They get attached to a brand.
Yeah.
Like there's people who only drink Modelo now.
Yeah.
And it's the foil cap. They only drink.
It's the tipping point, I think.
What do you think was pre-Heineken? Heineken's like the first big import that I can remember in my
life.
It
was Budweiser.
No, but the imported beer. What was Steinlager?
Steinlager, yeah.
Steinlager?
Yeah.
I mean,
because Steinlager used to sponsor like all the paddlers before Hinano came in, right?
Yeah. All the concerts we did was Steinlager.
All the fights too, the icon fights, Rumble on the Rock used to all be Steinlager.
Calvin Maeda used to hook me up with Steinlager all the time.
That was the 90s through like the late 90s. It was before Heineken became big.
And then Heineken shut everybody else down for a
Rolling
long
Rock
time
had
period.
its moment in there where like that was a kind of the green bottle of choice for a while. Like everybody was
Imported from Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah. But that was a green bottle.
I remember La Trobe.
Maybe that's why Mickey's and Lowenbrau, because those are green bottles too.
Yeah.
Where's Mickey's from?
I
You know where Mickey's from?
no idea.
You want to Google that for us?
We gotta do
Where's Mickey's from?
Google that. You gotta do a Mickey's and Lowenbrau show, or a Hawaii,
We're gonna have to do that in a parking lot somewhere.
blind tasting.
or a Hawaii, like a pre-Hawaii show of Heineken, all the green bottles.
Okay, we're going to play on that. We're going to take a little break. You guys go grab another beer. We'll be right back.
The Art of Beer is brought to you by Value Furniture. Has over 10,000 items from acclaimed designers to make furnishing your home easy. Create something beautiful with value. Beachside Roofing, the leaders.
Welcome back to the Art of Beer. We've done some German beers. Now we're gonna get a little local. Tim, what do you got on for us?
So let's crack some Lanai High wild ales. So let's do the Hano Hano. It's a wild ale with pineapple. It's pretty cool.
Pineapple.
Yep.
You know I picked pineapple for
the
4 years.
Lanai guy, right?
Yeah. Worst job in the world, I tell you.
They have pineapples on Lanai?
Now you can
Used
drink,
to.
Now you can drink it.
You know what's crazy is this is probably, I don't know if it's a beer or not, but going back to the first question, what was my first beer? It was probably Pineapple Swipe. Because we had so much pineapples. And I remember as a kid in the bucket with the bat, my grandfather would make me pound them, break it all up, and then I remember drinking it. I was
Let it
young.
ferment.
Yeah. Is that a beer, Swipe?
No, I mean beer's got to have barley in it or some
Gotta
sort
have
of kind
barley.
of cereal grain in it normally. But at the end of the day, it's a fermented beverage, right? People have been making, they make rice fermented beverages
Right.
where there's rice, or you make.
But there's no category for that, huh?
Wine?
Sort of wine.
Kind
Yeah,
of
I guess it's if you're going by American laws, it's wine because it's got fruit. So if you got something with fruit in it, it's gonna end up being wine. It's gonna be categorized as wine.
As bartenders, what's the rule with the head?
So that's a great question because a lot of people, you want to get at least an inch to inch and a half. Depending on a style, there's some styles that take a little bit more. But it's so funny because in Hawaii culture, you pour them a beer, and if there's too much head, they kind of get mad at you. They think it's a waste It's a waste of beer. When in actuality, you're doing them a favor. It's like all this carbonation is stuck in this bottle. Now, if you don't do it and you slam the beer, and then you do, all the carbonation is now in your stomach. So the aromas are held in that carbonation, and as you pour it and get the head on it, it releases some of that. It smells better, it tastes better, and also it sits better in your stomach.
It's also pretty, right? I mean, at the end of the day, like the contrast, right? And you get that lacing, and if you're in Europe and you pour a beer without head, they send it back.
Oh,
like
really?
it's not done right. You know,
you go to Japan a lot, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
notice the draft beers in Japan, they pull it this way,
Yeah.
and then it pulls back to create the foam. So they fill it 3/4 of the way, and then they pull this tap back and it shoots foam the rest of the way.
Funny when you watch a movie, right? There's no head on the beer, but it's also
'cause you're
90
drinking iced tea,
degrees.
that's why I know.
Yeah,
The lights.
it's like 90 degrees warm and stuff.
But it's you have to have it. I mean, it's important for almost all beer, and it's aroma too, and it looks pretty, and it's the way if the beer is made right, it should have a constant steady head on it. But people sometimes just look at it as they want their liquid all the way to the top.
Maximize what they're getting.
right.
They think.
I realize the experience involves having that.
Yeah.
So I have a little sour in it. You taste a little sour in there?
Some acidity in it. It's,
So it's supposed to be a little sour. So the cool thing with this project is what they've been doing is capturing wild yeast strains from around the state. So this, the other reason I picked it, one of the yeast strains in this is from Wailua.
Oh,
so
nice.
that's where I grew up. So what the head brewer there did was he would go around to different parts of the islands and set up basically yeast traps where he would collect just what's floating around in the air.
Uh-huh.
So this one is up above Wailua on the hills, and he found, it's, you look it under a plate and microscope and figure out, okay, this is a viable yeast strain to ferment beer.
Can you use it for wine?
Some of them you can. You might not want that kind of flavor in a wine. So he's looking for a specific yeast strain.
I see.
So under a microscope, you can see, that's this organism, that's this organism. But he has other ones from, the Big Island, from the volcano. He has other ones from different parts of the islands. And the wild yeast strains are going to create a little bit of funk. And then you add the pineapple,
That's the funk.
and you're going to get, pineapple's kind of got a little bit of tart, funky, and so you get that play in contrast.
How much yeast do you need?
Depends on
Depends
the
on
batch.
the yeast.
Depends
No,
on the
batch,
batch.
I mean,
to
what you're
collect.
using.
I mean, like how much do you need to collect?
So what you do is when you can yeast replicate, right? They just constantly want to have sex and replicate, right? So you build it up. So as you keep feeding them, they keep replicating and they keep reproducing and reproducing. So what they do is they build it up and build it up and build it up. So if you have a really big batch, you need a lot of yeast. Because you don't want your yeast to be stressed, because if they're stressed, then that's when they start kind of making byproducts.
So if you have too much yeast, will you get an infection?
First one of the day. And on that note, join us for the extended version on YouTube. Thank you to Lanai for coming out. We're going to drink some more beer.
Right on. Welcome back. We're on the extended YouTube version, and let's keep cracking some Lanai Kai beers since we got them here. This is a 5-year-old barrel-aged barley wine. So
Do you want to open it?
Yeah, we're opening it.
Oh yeah. Does it get better when it ages?
Some beers do. The higher alcohol content. It's been barrel aged, so it's sat in a barrel for a long time before they bottled it, and it's got such high alcohol and a lot of malt that all of those flavors over time. It's kind of like some red wines. If you sit over time, it can blend and meld, and some of the flavors can mold together. So we'll see. I mean, it hasn't been open in 5 years.
Oh, this is like chocolate.
Yeah.
This is.
So it's
How much alcohol?
12%.
Okay.
So it's high, and that alcohol percentage helps with the aging, right? You're gonna get a lot of like dark sherry, raisin, figgy notes.
Prunes.
I was going to say real quick for you guys listening at home, barley wines, there is no wine harmed in the making of this. It's all just beer. It was all based on
I haven't even
alcohol
tasted it. I'm
percentage.
just smelling it.
That thing has aged perfectly.
What's the average in a bottle of for alcohol, percentage-wise?
That's the cool thing with beer. It can range all the way from like the stuff that we were drinking earlier. It could be like 3 to 5%, all the way up to 14, 15, 16. We have a beer sitting in Village right now that's 18%.
Wow. You remember Elephant beer?
I
drank that when I was a kid too.
What is that?
It was-
Carlsberg or the?
I don't know, but
That's
you.
why they had the bottle.
Yeah, but you only drank one, and it was like trashed. Of course, I was only 18, but I mean, they don't sell that anymore? Elephant beer?
I haven't seen it in years.
What brand is that?
How come I'm bringing up all these old beers? Showing my age here.
Well, you just drink wine.
Me and Augie used to do this radio show, me and Augie Towa. Every year we did they called it the Drunk Show. And we started at 5 o'clock in the morning, And every half hour, I would drink a glass of wine, and he would have a bottle of beer, and our co-host would have a shot. And we would bring in a police officer to measure, to see how drunk we get. Yeah, but what we were trying to do is we did it at graduation season, and we would bring in MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and they would read statistics, and we would conversate about how bad it is to drink and drive. We were trying to get people to not drive, obviously, but we did it every year, and it became this huge thing because by 8 o'clock, we couldn't talk.
I mean, Augie can talk in 5 minutes.
Can you imagine? It was worse.
I listened to that show. I only understood one guy.
The second year, we had a subtitle machine because nobody understood what was going on. But yeah, the percentage of alcohol you don't realize, and all the different beers, you know, or even wines, right? Yeah. My wine has 15% alcohol, but that's a bigger bottle.
But some of these beers hide it really well. I mean, you know, like the Schneider Weiss that we're drinking, that's over 8%, but it doesn't taste like it at all, you know? And I mean, some of like a beer like this, it's big, it's heavy, it's chewy, you know what you're getting into, but there's other beers that...
This is one of those ones you can have with dessert at the end of the night.
Oh, yeah.
Like a port. It reminds me of a port.
So this is like port. I mean, you get a lot of the same sherry notes out of how people drink sherry with their... It's the same thing. But yeah, you get a nice rich kind of, even like a custardy kind of dessert, like a creme brulee or something like that. That caramel and the cream with something like this.
Caramel, yeah.
And that's a good, I mean, with these type of beers, 4 ounces, 5 ounces, I mean, that's plenty, right? Yeah. You're not, that bottle's not intended for maybe one person to drink.
So is that would you consider a specialty?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Anniversary of some, celebration kind of.
So
beer?
one thing we should note about barley wine. Barley wine is the style of beer that can age a lot longer. Most beer, you don't want to leave an IPA for a year. You know, you're going to lose out let alone 5. But barley wine will age longer, and it's actually preferably let it age longer.
So how long would you let that go though, before you should drink it?
I mean, this is almost at 5 years from when it was bottled. So, and beers go. Sometimes they go in. You could be drinking it right now. It's great, and maybe in a year maybe has a different flavor profile, and then in 2 more years as it kind of swings, and they all have different. Sometimes I think
and it's like wine too. It's also just sometimes a certain vintage will last 5 years longer than the other one.
Does beer cork like wine? Will you get it go flat
it oxidizes a little bit depending on the so it doesn't come out the same as like how corked wine is, but it definitely can go bad.
Because like the bigger companies, right? After it gets to a certain date, they don't sell it anymore, right?
Yeah, and that just depends on the style. I mean, so we're talking about IPAs or even certain pilsners and things. They're just not meant to be aged at all. But you could get a beer like Chimay Grand Reserve, Chimay Blue, and I've been in cafes in Belgium where you look at the menu and you can order Chimay Blue that's 35 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's the way it was brewed. It's a type of beer. It's another 10+%. Dark Belgian dark strong beer that can just age indefinitely. It's gonna taste different, that's for sure.
How much is a bottle like that?
I think when that was available, it might have been $22 or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I mean, it's the thing about beer. It's always still relatively affordable. Versus a wine that you're gonna age for 5 years. Normally, not gonna be $22.
For sure.
And the beer doesn't take up as much space in your refrigerator as the wine does.
Lanai Kai, these guys, how many beers are they pumping out?
A lot. I mean, it's just like, so the beer world has gotten to the point where you kind of, in America, you're constantly pumping out because
it's the innovate or die.
Exactly,
of America now, it translates to
it's
the
like
beer.
Nike shoes.
You gotta have a new color. You have to have a new style. You have to have a new flavor, and it's that the world of like the same 5 beers over and over again is kind of gone in America.
Yeah.
It's who's got the newest thing, who's got the newest label, who's got the newest name. It's the cereal of the week. And it's it's got its plus and minuses, but most breweries gotta play to what the consumers want, right? And consumers want to see something new all the time.
Kind of relates to like how restaurants do chef specials, right? You get your menu for a while, but today the chef is making this fish. He's doing this and that. So it's a constant need for something new there to just break up the monotony. I mean, whether you like monotony is kind of a bad word. Like you go to a restaurant and have a great time, even if you order the same thing every time, you're always there. But every now and then you want something different, and it's the same with the beer. So these guys a lot of times make the same style for one or two that you can always get, and there. But then everything else is going to change.
You guys are bartenders, obviously, with the exception of the green bottles. What do you think people are buying the most of?
Oh man, it all depends on the guest, and I think what's exciting right now is just that we are literally living in the best time to be a beer drinker ever.
But is it like IPAs? Is it what is it?
There's always going to be an IPA drinker.
Yeah.
I work at a pool bar, so hazy IPAs and lighter style beers are definitely crushing because that's what you want to sit. When you're sitting in the pool, you're not going to be. This is fantastic, but this is not. This is the bottle you. This is the bottle you age for 5 years and you share with some friends. From your cellar. This isn't the beer you're crushing in the sun.
So outside, more light beers.
For sure, yeah.
How about inside? Because you're in a steakhouse.
Inside, more heavier, German styles, Belgian styles, but also the Heinekens still crush even at a steakhouse. So,
as a retailer, do you see one particular? What's a trend right now?
IPAs are always sort of in my audience where it's a little bit more. You have a discerning kind of consumer where they're coming to us because they're looking for variety. It's IPA, but people are always shocked at the amount of light pilsners, lagers that we go through. And it's just a testament of saying like, hey, not everybody's looking for like the most wild flavor concoction in the world. Sometimes people are just looking for like a really damn good, crisp, easy drinking beer. It's also, it's freaking like 90 degrees right now, right? I mean, at
so
some point,
with the seasons.
If we go outside, we're not drinking this.
Right.
No, but what's also crazy is we sell a lot of stout and a lot of dark beers even through the summer. And I even have mainland distributors that we work with, and they're like, how do you guys you guys sell a lot of barrel aged dark beers? And it's like, yeah, it's just people want that. There's an audience that's still, no matter how hot it is, that's what they like. They want those.
Well, I
We
think
still
those
eat
flavors.
pho, right? And it's hot.
Me too. I bring a towel though. So, but it's the same thing also because you are also providing that outlet for them. They've got a lot of other retailers that have beer during the summertime. They cut back on their amount of stouts and heavier beers, and they really push the seltzers and the lighter beers and the pilsners. They put it out front. They put everything in the back. So by keeping year round, you still have something for those people that drink that, and that's. I think they know just don't go here, don't go here. Go to Village because they have it what I need. So
I always wanted to ask you guys this: tap or bottle, or can? What do you prefer?
If can.
Yeah.
Why? It serves. I mean, I guess it depends. A lot of brewers only keg some things. So sometimes if Tim might be the only place that gets one keg of a beer. So if you want that beer, one location might be the only one that gets that. So
is it a big difference though?
To me, it depends. The cans are great. And I think we've all had these conversations. Like cans are fantastic for the quality of the beer because light can't get through it, and light's bad for beer. Yeah. It's also cans normally seal really well. I mean, this is a seal, but it can still let oxygen in over time. Once a can's sealed, if it's sealed,
that top of that can, once it's on there,
it's gone.
It's on there,
right? So, and environmentally, cans are better. You can fit more cases on a pallet. Yeah. They're lighter. They're lighter than glass.
You can crush them down for recycling.
And they're infinitely recyclable, right?
But taste-wise, what do you prefer? If it was your favorite beer and it came in a bottle can or a tap?
For me, it totally depends because there's some Belgian style, like this beer that is probably slightly re-fermented in the bottle. The bottles can hold more carbonation. So there's some Belgian styles where the bottle's thicker and it can get to a higher carbonation, so you get more fizz out of it, which for some beer styles it's great, which the can's not going to be able to provide. And then there's other things where it's like sometimes the draft is just superior. It just depends. It's totally selective
for you.
So other times, you got to go with a bottle because if you're at Femme Nu, you don't want to drink out of whatever glass they have. Don't do it.
What's Femme Nu? Yeah, I guess so. You would think because it'd be colder, right? You want it cold, because my beer has to be like cold.
That's
I
the
don't
other
know,
reason I love
cans,
cans. 'cause
cans get super cold.
There's
You think
nothing
the
better.
thin aluminum.
Somebody reaches into a cooler full of ice water and hands you like a 32-degree beer. Oh, this is the glory.
I like that.
And the cans get colder faster.
Cans get real cold.
Because it transfers the temperature between the metal faster than through a bottle, right?
Nice.
And the aluminum's thinner in a can than the glass, so it's just. So.
But if you look at it, I mean, like, this, I mean, it's a German beer. You can't find this can in Germany. They only can it for America.
Really?
Yeah, because
Because of shipping.
No, because in Germany and Belgium, they would never touch this. It's inferior to a bottle, right? And that's just a perception where even in Belgium, you'll get beers that are shipped over here and they're canned just for the U.S. market, because that's the format that like we as a culture have gravitated towards in America. But still in a lot of places in Europe, no.
Yeah.
You give them a can, I don't want that shit.
It's like wine in a bottle. You don't want to drink wine out of a can.
It's like wine with a screw cap now.
Right.
You get some of these higher end wineries are moving to a screw cap, and,
I'm moving to screw caps.
Yeah, but some people they look like,
No,
I don't like
it's-
screw
yeah.
caps. I'm like,
But
no,
even
that-
the synthetic corks are better. I mean, it's impossible to have a corked wine.
Right.
If you have a
Synthetic cork,
synthetic
right.
But you're
But the,
paying
but
Because
the,
it
but the
expands, but
perception
yeah.
is
Yeah.
that.
It's cheap
There's a
because it used to be
it's a
the
tradition.
$4 wines used to have synthetic corks, so people don't want that either.
Exactly. I mean, even wine in a bag, like technically it's just a transportation vessel, right? So I mean, if it's going into a bag and it's purged of oxygen and it's not touching anything, it's perfectly good. But you go back to like, oh, that was that cheap Gallo stuff.
yeah.
You know,
That
was
bag and box, the
Right.
stigma of it is
It's a
that's
stigma.
terrible.
The new trend with wines being on draft is amazing. As a bartender, like literally nothing that I can do faster than pour you a glass of rosé. Like if I'm weeded,
And every glass is
and it's perfect. And it all like I'm not sitting there opening bottles, so it's faster for the owner loves it, the guest loves it. I'm spending more time actually dealing with guests or making drinks, and then you're pumping with nitrogen, so it's absolutely covered.
never touching oxygen.
And I maybe waste 4 ounces of wine in that what's probably 4 cases of wine
Yeah.
versus a bottle of case. You know, so it's
So Dave and I are on different sides of the spectrum on this.
Right.
For me, you just choose your wine list with all screw caps. That's it.
So it also
mine. So that's
it also depends, I think, because if you go into a place, normally if I'm ordering wine by the glass, I always ask them what's your best seller, because that means that's the bottle they're opening the most. Because once you open a bottle of wine, it's touching oxygen, it's
clock is on,
degrading
right?
instantly,
The clock
right?
is
I do
on.
the same thing, and you know what I like? Because I go to Ruth's Chris a lot. Daniel will always crack a new one open for me.
Yeah.
So, but I totally understand what you're saying. Yeah, you don't want to. I mean, some of those wines are 2 days, right? They're reds or.
Well, no, those are the ones we give to James Davis.
Google it.
Google James Davis. See what comes up.
But if you have a so going back to the keg wine, which has nothing to do with beer, but it's the same principle. Is that first pour is as good as the last pour, because you think of a keg, it's one gigantic bottle,
Right.
and it's never touching oxygen. So every glass is
You do minimize your waste. with
yeah,
a
and
keg
it's
of
good,
wine.
right? You're not gonna get an off flavor, and it's also, again, it goes back to like shipping and stuff. Like a keg will hold 26 bottles.
Yeah.
So instead of having 26 bottles to throw out,
Right, you got
it's
one.
one reusable piece of stainless steel that you send back. They clean it out, fill it back up.
It is actually one of the better
It's
inventions
amazing.
for bartenders.
Yeah.
Is kegging wine.
And fast.
But going back to what you guys were talking about earlier, you're on the different side of the fence. You're more in a different setting too.
Yeah,
So,
and we don't run a draft system for even
Right,
beer.
right.
So they're not going to let me put one in for wine.
You need the space. I mean, it's the same thing that draft system
But
for
also,
beer.
it's a different setting too. The guests do enjoy there's opening a bottle of wine is a song and dance.
Oh, of course.
The label.
100%.
The opening. I was
Yeah. It's romantic.
just kidding about the screw caps.
It's
I
sexy.
open a lot of bottles of wine, but it's a full routine of song and dance. So they want to see it. They want you to wait there while they taste it and make sure it's good. And you're wiping the rim.
It's
pouring
the
it again.
experience.
Yeah,
Well, hearing that
it's-
sound, that
yeah.
Yep.
that's
You know what?
that's a cool
Oh, no,
sound.
you're not. I don't
I know. But people like hearing that sound.
Right? Make that pop. You see the manager in the corner looking at you. What are you doing? Especially
That's my favorite
the
sound.
champagne. Your favorite sound is
Yeah.
the champagne. If I do that at work, everyone's like, "What are you doing?"
Whenever I go and order champagne or a bottle, because I usually start with it, I'll tell them, "Can you pop the cork at the table?" And when I was 18, when I first started drinking wine, and they just changed the legal age, by the way. When I was 18, you couldn't drink till you're 21. Remember that? You guys same age as me? Right when I was able to drink, they changed the law. But I used to go to a fancy restaurant, and I always ask, and I didn't know anybody. I would go, "Who's the chef tonight?" I'll be with a date, and they'd go. I say, "Is the chef working?" They go, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, can you send him out? I just wanted to tell him hi." And the chef would come out just to impress my date.
You're that guy.
Yeah. And I would ask the chef, "Hey, it's my first time here. What should I order?" And he would be like, "I'll take care of it." So it made me look good to the girl, right? But if you brought out 2 bottles of beer, it didn't feel sexy. They brought out a bottle of wine. It was like a little bit of extra for you.
I think now it's changed because now there's so much
Totally.
beer available that's higher end that and it's just availability. Like you can order something that has just as much sort of cachet if that's what you want to drink.
Right.
And I always go back to it. It's like, what do you want to drink, man? If you want to drink a Coors Light with your $50, $60, $70 steak, drink a Coors Light. Who cares, right? Like whatever makes you happy, and that's the important thing. And I think
Absolutely.
too much over the last 2 decades has been, shitting on people for what they drink. Where it's like, it's kind of not the way to get people to open up their minds and palates. Like, dude, you want to drink Coors Light? Fine, but try that. Try that. And they were like, whoa.
That's in the hospitality. That's what you owe them. You owe them your honest opinion of what should be good. But in the end, if you want this with this, I'm not stopping you. I'm not buying it for you.
Nothing wrong with it.
What's your suggestion for a good steak? With a good steak for beer?
For beer, definitely depends on the steak. Like I will go with a ribeye, so you're gonna get all that kind of fatty and marbling, that big, huge flavor. So I would definitely go something heavier. I mean, Belgian styles. I would stay away from the pilsners and things like that. That might be a little too heavy. That's there.
Or like a Chimay Grand Reserve.
A Chimay Grand Reserve would probably be
like
ridiculous.
amazing.
How about you? What would you suggest for a steak?
I'm on the black lager bandwagon. Like black lagers they're as light as your green bottles, but they have dark malt in them, so they almost look as dark as Guinness. But there's this little hint of malt which plays off of that char and the iron in that steak. But that palate cleanses all the fattiness and everything else. It is the most underappreciated beer in Hawaii. It goes with brown sugar
called?
shoyu, black lagers.
Or Schwartz beer.
Or Schwartz beer, yeah.
Okay, I gotta
So
try
what for people who find black lagers? Throw out a brand name, one that they will be able to find somewhere consistently.
that you have.
New Belgium 1554.
Belgium, going back to Belgium. So you guys think Belgium has the best beer?
Well, New Belgium is a.
You guys
is
been
a
talking
brewery.
New Belgium's a brewery, but
New Belgium's a brewery in Colorado, though.
Yeah,
So
but
the
I mean,
name is Belgium, but
but-
Belgian beers,
Yeah, as far as like food wise, I mean, and it's a cultural thing, right? So in Germany and Belgium, you drink with everything. So and it's a very different stigmatism than in America, where in Belgium and in Germany, drinking is okay. It's part of your culture. Like you always have beers on the table. You always have beers at food. So the beer has always, through their culture and time, has been made to be consumed with food. Like if you're not drinking and pouring beers with food, then what's the point, right? It's sort of like here where we poo, right?
It's crazy though, because right below that, Italy, agrees
And then
it's all wine.
Wine, right? Yeah, but it's where grapes stopped growing, right? Temperature-wise, and then barley and cereal grains.
You can find there's these maps and they'll show you
The line.
and it goes through Europe and it's all kapakahi. It goes like this and everywhere, but on this side is great for beer and on this side is great for wine. And they literally
But with climate change, it's kind of
Well, it goes up and down from now, but traditionally, so it's going. But it's always been that. It's like there's hops, better hops and beer on this side and wine on this side, and it's.
But I think it just goes back to like history, right? People, you got used to drinking, and so the beer was made to go with the food, and it's just.
If it grows together, it grows together.
Exactly.
But also, Bill Carl, our friend, we used to joke a lot about how like wine's actually pretty elitist because it's a pretty thin band. It's basically Oregon, southern Washington through France, Italy, where you can grow grapes. But the rest, like you can grow barley almost anywhere.
Do we grow?
You can make beer almost anywhere.
Is anybody growing here?
No, it's.
You could though.
You could. It's just not really productive. I think you need longer, hotter days. So we don't have especially
ideal climate.
the ideal climate. Even for hops, like you need more sunlight during the summer. You can grow them. It's just not gonna get the same yields, right? At the end of the day, it's an agricultural product. You want the yields, so it's just not gonna work out.
Well, I gotta say, I think this is a great show, and what you guys are doing are awesome because you're educating people who don't really drink beer. And I'm a new fan now. I'll probably be at your store looking for this German.
The German beer.
And I want to try Belgian beer. I think I've had Belgian beer once maybe, and I don't remember even what it tastes like. I love Belgian waffles, so.
We'll go out to dinner and we'll.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Some Belgian
Yeah. This will go good with waffles.
Yep.
But thank you guys, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Cheers, you guys. Cheers. Good luck.